Thank you, sir. Moving on to Mr. Vishwanath from NDTV Profit.
Thank you for the opportunity, Governor. I must say, happy to be back in this room. It's looking a little better now. I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned transmission, I just wanted to get a view that there was a view from the RBI, or at least reports suggested that there was a view from the RBI that credit deposit ratios at banks were, private banks were way too high, and that they needed to come down. Now that we are talking about transmission, eventually, obviously, that will have to translate to higher lending. Are you happy with the credit deposit ratio at this point in time? And the second part is then there's a view that RBI will have to do, or the monetary policy will have to do the heavy lifting in supporting the economy in the current macroeconomic setup. Do you agree with that? Do you think that you have a bigger responsibility to manage in the current scenario?
So coming to your first question, CD ratio, see, when we were in the districts, then we would look at CD ratio basically to see as to whether the credit as a percentage, of the deposits is sufficient, whether, the lending is going on sufficiently. And at that point of time, I'm talking about 25, 30 years, we used to think that 70, 75%, is very good. So some regions, have low because they are savers. Some, where there are more of borrowers, you have high CD ratios. Coming, to your question, CD ratio, well, we do not have, any such prescription of a CD ratio. You are aware that there are no regulations for CD ratio. And however, we do have regulations for asset liability management. That's more important. We have regulations for liquidity management, and there are regulations for liquidity, for the short term in the form of the LCR guidelines that you are aware of over the 30-day period, requiring banks to maintain, and even NBFCs to maintain high-quality liquid assets. And similarly, for a longer one-year duration, there is this NSFR, NFSR ratio that we have prescribed. There is no ratio or no guideline with regard to CD. The banks have to be actually mindful of managing their asset liability, which is important. They have to be mindful and ensure that they have liquidity, both short-term and sufficient funds, over medium and long-term, so that there are no mismatches and there are no liquidity-related issues. So they can look at, their own assets, liabilities, and make a business plan according to them. We do not have any prescription for CD ratio. It is for the banks to decide. Your second question, it's a joint effort. Who does more of the heavy lifting, etc. It's a joint effort. The government has done its bit, I think, in the budget that you saw recently. A large number of measures, whether it is in terms of the increased capex, whether it is in terms of the tax rebates on the personal income tax side. And we will also, we have reduced repo rates. We have changed the stance going forward, which means that the direction of the policy repo rate is downwards. Where it will reach, Lata, of course, asked that question. We really don't know. I'm Sanjay, but I'm not Sanjay of Mahabharat to be able to, foresee that far. I do not have that that divine vision, that he had. But we will jointly, try to manage the growth and the inflation dynamic in our country.